days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and today it's time to talk about the YAC Attack and how the 49ers could use yards after the catch to help beat the Rams. This is going to be a fun conversation, Alex, and we're going to get into it and about how this has actually helped the 49ers beat the Rams before.
Accurate, it really truly has. The YAC Attack is a huge portion of what the 49ers do. One of the better teams with run after the catch, yards after the catch, as it's referred to. A stat that some people believe wasn't invented until Jimmy Garoppolo became the quarterback of the 49ers, but we know better. It's been around for quite some time, even back to the days of Joe Montana. But look, at the end of the day, YAC is very important to the Niners. You have a trio there that is referred to as the YAC Bros in Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, and George Kittle. But there's more names than that can also contribute in the pass game, and we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this YAC Attack. We need to talk about who the pieces are and who the weapons are, and who could be having the big game, because listen, whoever Jalen Ramsey's on, you have to believe that Jalen Ramsey's going to have success in taking things away from that individual, whoever that is. But that's just one player on a team that is full of offensive weapons in the pass game.
Yeah, this offense has been built around Jimmy Garoppolo's quick release, him getting the ball out on time and getting it to a receiver that can make a play. Deebo Samuel is, of course, the lead guy in that role. He gets the ball and he makes plays, and the Rams have been trying to figure out who he is for the last 6 games. And so far, it hasn't worked out for him. The reason is because when he gets the ball in his hands, he's dynamic. He's like they kept saying, right? He's a running back with the ball in his hand. And that never been more clear than now, where now he actually takes snaps as running back. But we're going to talk about him in the receiving game. And the ability that Jimmy Garoppolo has to get him the ball cannot be denied. So before I get into the YAC guys, or we get into the YAC guys, let's talk about Jimmy a little bit. And just the fact that him getting rid of the ball so quick helps neutralize the Rams, defensive line a little bit. It takes a little bit of pressure off them. And then when you get the ball out quickly on these slants or these quick routes, you give your players opportunities, to be able to run. You couple in the fact that you have a really good run game, and it opens a void across the middle of the field. And Alex, you brought this up in the live stream that the Rams struggle at stopping the pass over the middle. 49ers are one of the best in the league at it. And that's why, because the YAC brothers catch the ball in that area, and then they take off and get going. Deebo Samuel is a catalyst, but there's a lot of guys that go with it.
Correct, and Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy who starts with the ball in his hand, so it's all about him diagnosing and dissecting what's going on defensively, where the defense is weak, where it's vulnerable, where is the area or avenue for him to attack. And Kyle has obviously drawn something up that can stretch, either horizontally, vertically, or put someone in a one-on-one in which you can exploit a matchup and things of that nature. And that's where the other pieces come in. That's where the YAC starts to come in after the fact, and these YAC Bros and all these weapons have a role. And listen, first and foremost, there's Deebo Samuel, whose route running has been absolutely phenomenal. He's much improved as a route runner, but he's physical at the point of attack. So even if you get to a spot where you got a good idea of where Deebo's going to be or where he wants to go, he can out-muscle you to get to the spot and make sure he can get there before you do. And look, it's one of those things as well. When teams running zone, it's really easy to try and keep an eye on somebody. But if you have play action going for the 49ers, you're going to suck some people up in space, because you have to respect the run game and what Kyle Shanahan has done there. And that's where Deebo starts to thrive. It's over the middle of the field. So when he's lined up out wide, I do expect to see Jalen Ramsey out there a little bit more on a Deebo Samuel type guy, or at least them to try and put bracket coverage on him. The only problem is, Ant, you don't really know what he's going to do. Is he going to go in motion? Is he going to go into the backfield? So it's really hard if you're a defense to give him too much attention, because your best laid plans can be absolutely obliterated pre-snap if he motions into the backfield to be a running back and you have something designed to call to bracket him out in space.
Yeah, I think it has to be more fluid with the way Deebo Samuel is used, because he's an offensive weapon. He's not so much a receiver, but he's still a YAC guy. And the 49ers have a lot of YAC guys, and part of the reason they have that, and why it works against the Rams especially, is the Rams employ a 3-4 defense. But they want to play their outside linebackers on the line of scrimmage pretty much all the time.
Exclusively.
Exclusively. And Von Miller's up there. You see him all the time. And they want these guys up there, so it looks like a 5-2 look. Everyone knows 5 down linemen or 5 linemen at the line of scrimmage, and then you got the 2 linebackers. So automatically right there, you already have little voids in the defense. When you have a 4-3 defense, you have an extra linebacker that can help take away hook to curl, which is basically taking away a hook route or a curl route right there. It's just a certain part of the zone. And I think that when you run this type of defense, it helps them stop the 49ers run game to a point. It cuts off that outside zone. This is something we've seen employed, but it opens up avenues to be able to get your playmakers the ball, and there's areas open. And we've seen that the Rams tried to adjust by running a cover one and then bringing up, Taylor Rapp into the cover one robber role. He was going to come up in the intermediate range and try to take away plays over the middle, and the 49ers adjusted to that. They said, okay, you're going to do that. We're going to run two slants, and then the second guy is going to be the one that gets the ball. He's in one-on-one coverage, and a lot of times that was Brandon Aiyuk. And we've seen Aiyuk kind of take charge of the last game. So that is part of the reason that it works. You can move these guys around, but there's little voids that are open because of this run game. Now you couple the fact that once you start running that game, like you brought up, Reader and those guys start coming forward, and when they do, it creates even more of a void over the middle. Yeah, you can put Rapp into that area, but you're going to get some one-on-one matchups that the 49ers can take advantage of. And there's some defensive backs for the Rams that aren't Jalen Ramsey. They're going to put a lot of pressure on them to be able to make plays. Because when we're talking about YAC brothers, we're not just talking about Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk and George Kittle, but there's also Juaun Jennings, who had big plays in the game before, and Kyle Juzsczyk as well.
Correct, man. And listen, I can tell you one thing. Something that we saw a lot on the last film was the Niners really stretching that team out and really making them commit heavy to the run, and if they did and when they did, opening up voids in the middle of the field. But we also saw them being very aggressive, trying to take away those voids in the middle of the field and bringing those safeties down in space, including a situation in which you use Travis Benjamin, someone who isn't very thought after in this 49ers pass game, sending him on a deep post over the top, in which he absolutely toasted the safety that was back there. And it was a situation where if Jimmy has a clean pocket, it's a touchdown. Because there was nobody that's catching Travis Benjamin when he gets over the top. And we saw that in the preseason when Travis Benjamin was able to stretch vertically down the field and get him the football a couple times. Big play opportunities and potentiality for the Niners. And look, this is where one of the Rams' biggest weaknesses comes into play. It's everyone outside of Jalen Ramsey. Darius Williams is not a lockdown corner. That is not what you have over there in space. He is 100% beatable. So when you have situations like Jalen Ramsey lining up on Deebo, if he takes away a Brandon Aiyuk, well, you got problems. Because, yes, George Kittle can operate over the middle of the field very well, but George Kittle also operates very well up the seam, very well outside the numbers. There really isn't an area of the field where George Kittle doesn't operate well. So now you're going to do what? Put him one-on-one with tiny Taylor Rapp? That's not a recipe for success if you're the Rams. In theory, you would think they're going to bracket him a little bit more. But we saw late in that game in Week 18 who had a lot of success leading that team down the field, making a bunch of big catches on third down and short things of that nature. It was George Kittle. George Kittle made a bunch of clutch catches in one-on-one situations or in areas where they played soft zone to take away certain things, and Kittle was able to sit himself right in the middle. Jimmy was able to get the ball out on time right to his boy, and you're able to move the ball down the football field. George Kittle is a matchup nightmare for the Rams. He's a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams, but he's a matchup nightmare for this Rams team that doesn't have a lot of great pieces in the secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey. They have some solid guys. Don't get me wrong. Jordan Fuller, solid. Rapp, solid. By no means scrubs. Darius Williams, not terrible, but an all-world lockdown the other side of the field type corner. You can put in a one-on-one situation and not get beat by a Brandon Aiyuk. No. Not get beat by George Kittle. No. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, you have some advantages, and we saw it even with Juaun Jennings late in that game. Juaun Jennings was able to beat, David Long and the nickel cornerback.
Correct.
He was able to beat him in one-on-one coverage, and a lot of that was because you had Jalen Ramsey putting so much focus on Deebo Samuel. Early in the game, the focus for Jalen Ramsey was taking away George Kittle. He was finding Kittle a lot of times and trying to take him away, especially on third down. They felt that Jimmy Garoppolo felt more comfortable going to George Kittle in those situations. But what they found was that he was able to go to other guys, Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, and then Juaun Jennings. Those guys were all going to be able to make plays, and they took advantage of it. And that's why it's an encompass thing. It's not about one guy, but it's about all these guys, because you can go in, like you talked about, you can put Jalen Ramsey on one guy, and then you can bracket another guy if you need to. But if you do that, then you leave a matchup somewhere else that is bad for you. Whether that is in the slot with Juaun Jennings, or if that is George Kittle on a safety or linebacker, those are mismatches. Talked about this before. We said the Green Bay Packers, you can put King in the slot one-on-one with George Kittle. George Kittle will win. And he did. He won. So those are things that happen. But it's the plays and the runs after the catch are what create the dynamic parts of this offense. Because when they happen, and all of a sudden you see Brandon Aiyuk with 3 catches for 88 yards, it's because these dynamic plays happen and they take the momentum and they put them in your favor. And it feels like all of a sudden you're rolling and you can build off of those things. And that's all you need is these little windows that Jimmy Garoppolo does a pretty good job of getting the football to his guys in stride where they can get up the field and make plays. And that's why the YAC brothers could have a huge impact on this. I mean, in overtime of that game, it was Juaun Jennings catching the ball in an out pattern and then getting up the sideline and getting multitude of yards, after the catch. He has been a big part of this. Is all these guys have an attitude when they get the ball, and it puts the defense, it makes them stressed. They have to make the tackle right then. They have to get you down right then. If they don't, big play potential from the 49ers. And that makes everyone feel like they have to squeeze everything in. And when you're squeezing everything in or you're focused on this pass game, then the run game can continue to get after you.
It really can, man. It really can. And look, for YAC yards for the season, the Niners, 2240. That's what the YAC numbers are on the season. You have a total, Ant, of 4,400 pass yards, which means over 50% of the yardage you've accrued has been from YAC. Deebo Samuel leads the way with 768, Kittle at 450, and then Brandon Aiyuk after that with 347. But a guy who was kind of unsung in that category with the YAC Bros, Ant, is fullback Kyle Juzsczyk, who finished the year with 151, tied with Elijah Mitchell. Both of them finished with the same amount of YAC yards on the season. Here's a crazy number for you, a couple crazy numbers. When Jimmy Garoppolo is targeting Kyle Juzsczyk, it is on average of 7.9 yards downfield. And here's an even crazier number, Ant, a 107 quarterback rating for Jimmy Garoppolo when targeting Kyle Juzsczyk. No interceptions when targeting him. He has 6 when he targets George Kittle. He has 4 when he targets Deebo Samuel. 0 when he targets Brandon Aiyuk. 0 when he targets Kyle Juzsczyk. 0 when he targets Elijah Mitchell as well. And 0 when targeting Mohamed Sanu, who was just activated, oddly enough. It's very, very interesting because there are 2 interceptions when targeting Travis Benjamin. Both, one from Trey Lance against Arizona and one from Jimmy Garoppolo against the Rams last time they faced. Kyle Juzsczyk is someone who you've established what his role is. A lot of people see Kyle Juzsczyk, right? You're going to hand him the ball in some short down situation stuff. You'll catch some short stuff on timing routes when you need like a little chunk yardage to get yourself to third and manageables, things of that nature when you're trying to move the sticks. They can take a shot down the field with him every now and again, but he's a blocker. That's what he's there for. He's a blocker. I keep hearing this. He's a blocker from Rams fans, from a lot of people about Kyle Juzsczyk. You paid a man a lot of money to block. Look, you've established a role and an idea with Kyle Juzsczyk. And we've seen Kyle Shanahan utilize Kyle in a lot of different ways. Juice has been utilized very great in this offense. At times, we wish there was more utilization of Kyle Juzsczyk because of how dynamic he is. This is a week that it kind of plays into your favor. A team that plays 5 down linemen. A team that plays 2 in the box, that walks down a safety and brings that 8th guy into the box, right, with just a handful of guys underneath. If you're able to suck this team up into the run game and really get them to commit, there are some situations where Kyle Juzsczyk can either sneak out or Kyle Juzsczyk can already be motioned out into space in sort of a flex tight end role, and then be able to toast a linebacker or a safety one-on-one. He's an incredible route runner. He's one of the more underutilized pieces on this team, but he's only underutilized because what this team's identity is right now, which is pounding the rock with Deebo and Elijah Mitchell, using play action in order to do that. And a lot of times in order to sell play action, you got to utilize Kyle Juzsczyk, but also Kyle Juzsczyk has had a huge role in having to chip all season long because you've had some limitations with Tom Compton and with Daniel Brunskill earlier in the year on one side of the line, right? You've had some situations where you've needed to give help because you haven't been able to establish a run maybe as early as you wanted to. So they have adjusted Kyle Juzsczyk and used him a lot of different ways this year, but don't be surprised if he doesn't have a role in the pass game this week because this is a matchup that favors it and he can win.
I think it depends on what your definition of utilized is.
Sure.
Because he's used in the dynamic ways that he's runs the football. This is one of the things that George Kittle faces as well. When he's used in the blocking game, everyone says he's not being utilized. He's the best tight end. You've got to throw in the football. This is one of the things that people struggle to understand because it's not fantasy stats. Fantasy stats are what get people moving. That's what they see. They want to see the pass catches. They want to see the run after the catch. They want to see the yardage. But the things that those two guys do in the run game cannot be underutilized or underthought of. These guys are dynamic at everything they do, and they really are what set this offense off. Without those two guys, this offensive run game is just not as good, which means the pass game is not as good. It doesn't give Deebo the same opportunities. It doesn't give Juaun Jennings the same opportunities that Brandon Aiyuk. So Kyle Juzsczyk, he's a unicorn. He can do whatever. He's as close to positionless as it gets. You brought up him playing tight end. Yeah, he does that a lot. That's why you've seen less of Charlie Warner, less of Ross Dwelley.
2 catches on the year for Charlie Warner. One of them is a touchdown.
Yeah, and that's why
Ross Dwelley.
Yeah, that's why you've seen less of him because you don't need to have him out there because of Kyle Juszczyk's skill set. Those two guys just work in tandem together. in a way that you haven't seen in the league for a long time. These guys are dynamics. I think that the 49ers YAC should include Kyle Juzsczyk. You're right. Those numbers are right. And that's the thing is this is a Kyle Shanahan thing. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch went and got players that fit the scheme of what he wants to do, which is yards after the catch, and with a quarterback that gets the ball on time that can get these guys to where they need to be. That's why they do the dynamic things they do. Deebo Samuel having the yards that he has is not shocking. This guy is one of the kings at doing it, but that's a reason that they're going to be able to attack this team. And yeah, you could see the Rams committing to the run this week, and Kyle Juzsczyk or George Kittle acting like they're going to kick out, Von Miller or one of these guys on the edge and then getting out in the flat and catching the ball. And putting stress on Reader to be able to cover them out in the flat, or even to play zone underneath and one of these guys rallying up. None of these guys want to tackle these 49ers receivers, George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, especially when they got the ball in their hands. Just go ahead and ask Jalen Ramsey what happens when you go full speed for 15 yards and then run into Deebo Samuel. You end up on the ground and he's staring over you. You think you had a hit, but really inside your shoulder hurts, everything hurts.
Head hurts.
And you realize, that's just not a good idea. So I think that, you're right. Kyle Juzsczyk a lot of times is talked about being underutilized. In the pass game, maybe. In the run game, as far as him running the ball, maybe. No. But him blocking, absolutely not. And I think that is where his full value is. And I'll pay him $4.5, $5 million, whatever it is, for this run game to go consistently for as long as he can play.
100%, Ant.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent guy who knows how to use leverage and things of that nature to his advantage. Guy who's seen a lot of things, too. A lot of fronts, a lot of different looks. Doesn't falter in a lot of moments. We don't see Kyle Juzsczyk miss blocks. It's just rare.
Not usually, no.
It's rare. It is a rare thing. It's like a Trent Williams holding call. You just don't expect it. And when it happens, you're like, there's no way. Show me the replay. It's not possible. It just doesn't happen. Kyle Juzsczyk is the epitome of, like you said, not only positionless, but consistent. Talk about a guy who you can count on and rely on each and every game to do his job and do it better than pretty much everyone. That's why he's a Pro Bowl fullback. There aren't a lot of fullbacks in the league anymore, but there's no question that he's the best of the best. There is no question. And yeah, you could say he's underutilized, but at the end of the day, Kyle doesn't save him. Kyle uses him how he needs to use him, right? It's the moments where it's called, Juszczyk's always open. When was the last time the Niners took a shot downfield to Kyle Juzsczyk and he wasn't wide open?
Yeah, it's not often.
It just doesn't happen. It's almost always he has torched somebody. It's because it's when they least expect it, because Kyle lulls you into that false sense of security of, I've seen this a million times. I know where he's going. I know what you're doing. Seeing you go, I know what you're doing. I know where you're, and then the one time you just for half of a second, take your eye off him, or half of a second, just kind of go through the motions of, here he goes, the ball. Oh, crap. And he's gone, and he's deceptively quick. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of players don't realize that. He is deceptively fast. Kyle Juzsczyk is a huge part of what the Niners do, and one of the unsung heroes of the YAC Bros, because we've seen him make plenty of catches. Think about back to week 3 against the Green Bay Packers. Catch over the middle, breaks a tackle, and then bullies his way into the end zone for what a lot of 49ers fans was hoping was going to be a game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, he's explosive. In 49er fans growing up, everyone saw it in the 80s with Tom Rathman, the way that he was using the 49ers offense. And I think that's how everyone envisions, what Kyle Juzsczyk should be in this offense.
True.
But he makes the big plays. When it was the 2019 Super Bowl, he scored a touchdown. He ran a whip route and beat the safety for a touchdown. These are the things that he can do. And all these guys have the ability to make a lot of great big plays. But they're going to need the YAC brothers to step up. They're going to need these guys to make these catches. There can't be drops like there were in the game against Green Bay. I'm going to put a lot of that on the cold and them adjusting to that situation. But George Kittle had an opportunity not only to catch a ball but score a touchdown. Juaun Jennings had an opportunity to convert a big third down, and Brandon Aiyuk had an opportunity early in that game, to secure a first down catch, and move the sticks. These guys have to make their plays, and when they do, they have to make the Rams pay for it. Run after the catch is something that's been big against the Rams since the 80s. It's kind of funny. John Taylor has the 2 90-yard slants for touchdowns and in the Monday night game. Those are huge plays in the whole franchise's history. And I think that we can have those sort of plays in this game, because I think the way that they play kind of affords you that opportunity for Jimmy Garoppolo to get the ball out of his hands quickly and get it into his playmaker's hands and then see what they can do with it. And if they have a big game with the YAC yardage, 49ers are going to win, because that means these guys are going to have to sit back a little bit more against the run game. And if they do, then you're going to be able to run the game, run the ball 40 times. And if you run the ball 40 times, it's a win.
That it is, Ant. And let's not forget, some people right now, a lot of the Cutback crew may be in the comment section right now going, guys, YAC Attack, you guys are talking about the pass game. It's the run game. The run game has to get going. I've been hearing it from a lot of 49ers talking heads all week. Run game, run game, run game, run game, run game. And you are all correct. The run game is the most important factor of this game. Don't get me wrong. No one here is claiming that it's not. But what we are saying is that the YAC Attack could have a bigger impact than people realize, because let's not forget that Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 316 yards the last time they played the Rams, excuse me. Yeah. The last time these two teams faced off, week 18, season on the line, Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 300 plus yards, and Brandon Aiyuk was a huge catalyst of that. I talked about it post-game in the reaction show.
Yeah.
It was a quiet 80 plus yards for Brandon Aiyuk on 6 catches. It didn't feel like it. I knew he had like 5-6 catches, and then I saw the yardage. I was like, wait, what? Hold up. And you forget the 2 big catch and runs after yards after the catch. Talk about a guy who's turned it on late in the YAC category. A BA early in the season was obviously a ghost. Then when he started, making plays and things of that nature, it was just big catches in big situations, third downs, touchdowns, red zone, things of that nature. And then all of a sudden we started seeing the Brandon Aiyuk that we all saw against Philadelphia in the 2020 season. Catching the ball, breaking tackles, maneuvering through the defense, and basically knifing through defenders and making huge plays and runs after the catch. And it's like, well, there he is. There is that man. And since that man has returned, the Niners offense and the passing game as well is elevated because of it.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yeah, it is huge, and I'm still waiting for this guy to take one to the house. Right,
it's coming.
I think that every time I see him break loose, I'm like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. We've seen George, kind of have the tightrope walk down the sideline and get a touchdown. We've seen Deebo have the long runs, especially on the screen passes, and he can get it to the house. But we haven't seen Brandon do that yet. I mean, Juaun, I never expected, and he can do it from about 30 yards out, but he doesn't have the speed. He's gonna get ran down by one of these fast corners. But Brandon has that ability. I'm waiting for him to have one of these John Taylor type, big plays, 70 yards and just break open a game. And you're right, he has the ability to do so. He's just got to get the ball in his hands and see. And if they do like you said earlier, and they plan on taking away Deebo Samuel with Jalen Ramsey at times, Brandon Aiyuk is going to be the guy that they're going to have to watch, because he's one big catch away from making someone pay. And they did run the slant patterns with him. They sent Juaun Jennings on the interior. He took away the robber route, robber coverage, and then Brandon Aiyuk on the outside had a one-on-one. Jimmy Garoppolo made a nice throw with a little bit more separation. Brandon Aiyuk is gone, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. But you're right, Brandon Aiyuk has been a big catalyst in the reason the YAC brothers have gotten going. And then you add Juaun Jennings into the mix. I know we talked about Mohamed Sanu a little bit coming back, but since Jennings has taken over that role, he's taken that spot to a whole nother level. He's been able to convert on third downs, and that's been huge for this team. So I think that you're talking about a lot of guys. I think everyone always thinks about Aiyuk, Deebo, and George Kittle as being the YAC bros, but it seems like it's more like a YAC family now.
You are accurate there. It is 100% a YAC family. There's all of them. There's all the names that you know and love, and all of them are going to play a huge role in this game. And all of them are going to get their opportunity and their chance. We saw Kyle Shanahan try and utilize Travis Benjamin the last time in Week 18 against this team. Trent Sherfield against the Cowboys had his moments and his opportunities as well. It's all hands on deck.
Yeah, it is.
They activated Mohamed Sanu for a reason. It is all hands on deck. So special teams category in the game in certain packages and situations. All guys have to be able to play their part, do their role, and do what's being asked of them. And when their number's called, when their moment comes, you got to win. You got to win. You got to make the play when this team needs you to. And if you do that more times than you don't, you're going to come out of this thing with a big win. And all of these guys are capable. We've seen it from everyone. We've seen Mohamed Sanu make huge catches on third down this year early in the season. We've seen Juaun Jennings come into his own. We've seen Kyle Juzscyk have big runs and make huge blocks for this team week in and week out. Deebo Samuel, every time he touches the ball, feels like he's making a big play. George Kittle going from irrelevant to not healthy to having 3 huge games once he comes back to going back to being a guy who's irrelevant in the offense and not catching anything while he's dominating in the blocking category. Brandon Aiyuk elevating when need be. We've seen it all from this team. Everyone has stepped up when needed to make the play, and now you just need one more week of it.
You do need one more week. But what you need an impactful week from them, because the stress that you'll put on this Rams defense by running the football and making them come up, and then being able to execute this passing game, whether that's RPO or just running their rhythm passes or play action, could put these Rams in a real pickle. Because if you have to commit so many players to the middle, if you have to run that cover one robber look, you have 2 safeties right there in the center of the field. That gives you an opportunity to run some sort of a double move on the outside. As long as you give Jimmy Garoppolo enough time, you make all the coverage draw. That means you've got one of these corners that's not Jalen Ramsey on the outside against a Brandon Aiyuk or a Deebo Samuel or George Kittle, whatever matchup you get, or like you said, a Travis Benjamin who's faster than everybody, those situations are not good for the Rams. And that's what happens when the run game gets established and then these playmakers start making plays over the middle. Puts so much stress on that defense. That's when the 49ers offense can really get rolling, and that's what they need to happen. So it's not a one thing. It's not just get the run game going. It's also establish this pass game over the middle, and these guys kill the Rams with the yards after the catch. If they do that, the Rams are going to start feeling the stress. They're going to start stressing out. Jalen Ramsey's going to start wanting to take away everyone, which he does. Then he overcommits, and then they make a mistake, and you can hit a big shot down the field. I think those they'll present opportunities for Jimmy Garoppolo to get the ball down the field, but it's going to take a while to get there. Run the ball, hit the YAC brothers, let them make all the big plays that you need to make in the passing game. Jimmy doesn't have to throw it very far. Just get them the ball where they can make the plays with their legs.
100%, and that's the whole purpose of the YAC attack. Get rid of the ball early with these guys, and you know, have your concepts, have your schemes, and opportunities for these guys to catch the ball in space, in rhythm, at full speed with no one around them, and see what they can do with the ball in their hand. Niners are very good at it. They need it again this week, and Jimmy Garoppolo executes that at a very high level. We'll see how this continues to grow. We'll see what the YAC attack looks like at SoFi Stadium this Sunday. And Cutback Crew, let us know what you thought about the YAC attack, and which guy in the YAC brothers, which guy in this YAC attack is going to have the biggest impact this weekend? Is it going to be Kyle Juzscyk? Is it going to be George Kittle, Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel? Or is it an unsung person, someone who hasn't had necessarily the big YAC games or YAC numbers that's going to come up in a big way for this team? We want to hear from you, so leave that comment down below right now. And while you're commenting away, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell because we got a live stream, a news update live stream tonight, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time that you're not going to want to miss.
Yeah, don't miss that. Every single day, there's a little bit more news. We're going to have all the updates on Trent Williams, and Ambry Thomas, see what they're doing out at practice. If Trent Williams makes it out to practice. But also, there's other people that watch this, including Jeff Wilson Jr.
Accurate.
So there's going to be some storylines we're going to be talking about. Also, if you want to hop through and drop some questions in there, we'll answer the questions. So feel free to leave as many as you want. It's going to be exciting. It's always a good time on the live streams. We've been having a lot of fun in the interactions. This is going to be another good one.
You know that's right, Ant. You know that is right. Sunday can't get here soon enough, but we still got tons of great content for you here.
Yeah, we do.
On the 49ers Cutback, including the Friday Frenzy tomorrow that they're not going to want to miss, Ant, because it's going to start off with a banger yet again with the Madden simulation.
Madden Sim does not disappoint. It seems like every week there's something new from the Madden simulation. And this one, there's some new stuff. So it's going to be exciting. Make sure you're there at 9 a.m. 11 a.m., you got the game preview show. We're going to go over our key matchups in the game. And then we're going to get into our bold predictions. Then we'll pick the game, who we think is going to win and what that score is going to be. At 2 o'clock, you're going to get What's Good with Jay in the Bay. He's going to go over his 5 big things. And 5 big things relate to the game and how the 49ers are going to win against the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship game.
He's always got 5 big things, man. It's impressive.
He does have 5. And if you have questions, you should leave them for Jay in the Bay for the Ask Jay segment.
Yeah.
And then you got, of course, at 5:30, big one. The All-22 film breakdown, Know Your Opponent, where we get to know the Rams. We're going to go over the Week 18 game a little bit and break into how the 49ers can execute and what things they did right in the turnaround where they went from 17 down to winning the game 27-24.
All-22 film, Know Your Opponents, and are always a lot of fun. So make sure you're here for all of that content tomorrow. Make sure you're here for the live stream tonight at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'll catch you on the next one, Cutback Crew. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.